This episode of the Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends podcast is brought to you by Guy and Lady Barrel alcohol-infused cigars. These cigars are absolutely incredible, and they are perfect for any occasion. I particularly enjoy their newest flavor, Mojito. I'm not sure if you heard me correctly. I said Mojito-flavored cigar. I don't think it gets much better than that. Now, cigars are best enjoyed with company, so head on over to alcoholinfusedcigars.com and pick up a 5-cigar box set with any flavor of your choice. These cigars are great for birthdays, weddings. They're a great gift. You can give them for almost any occasion. I particularly love to get a cigar out, go on an evening walk, and pray. But you can use it however you want. Once again, thank you to Guy and Lady Barrel Cigars for sponsoring our show. Go to alcoholinfusedcigars.com and see all they have to offer. Please enjoy responsibly. Hey everybody, I'm Kevin Hackenberg, your host for Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends. I'm so lucky because today I've got Phillipp Scott here on the Funny&Amen's podcast. Welcome, man.
Thank you for having me. It's a joy to be here.
I am super honored because I was saying this week I got to do some podcasts. We're getting a little behind in our pipeline, and all of a sudden, like, I called a bunch of people, not available, and you said, like, hey, let's come. I want to come from Philly down to New York. From New York down to Philly to do this show.
Let's do this live, you know what I'm saying? What better way? Yeah.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. So we're going to open up or reopen here the Dad's Hat Pennsylvania Straight Rye Whiskey. Dad's Hat is one of our sponsors, so please support them. And there'll be more information in the links and on the screen about where to find this. Let's pour some of this stuff. We like it on the rocks.
Of course, that's the way I do it.
You can have it any way you like it, but we're going to do a little rocks.
That's right. Put some hair on your chest.
I got some hair on my chest. I've been shaving the hair off my chest.
You know what's funny?
Is that too much information?
It's too much information. But since you're going to indulge, I'm going to indulge. I never have to shave my legs.
Really?
Really. And every lady that I've ever dated, if we ever went somewhere and I had short pants, they go, "You shaved your legs." And I was like, I don't shave my legs. And they're like, "No.
I don't have to shave my nipples, so."
Cheers to that.
Cheers to not having to shave things.
Oh, I know, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's smooth.
That's good, huh?
That's good.
Dad's Hat. Thanks, Dad's Hat.
That's the straight rye whiskey.
Yeah. We've got some other Pennsylvania rye whiskey here, but we haven't opened that one yet, but we'll get to that at a later show, so please come back for more. Now, when I told the world that I wanted to focus, start steering the focus of my film career to comedy, I told our good friend, Joanne Bongiorno.
Yes.
And Joanne looked at me kind of crazy. What are you thinking? Like, and she's like, well, if you want to connect with somebody who has a similar comedic mind, just enjoys laughing, like you meet my friend Phillipp.
Yeah. Actually, she said the exact same thing. She said, "Oh my gosh," because I was telling her about it, and she was like, "You sound exactly like my friend." And I was like, "Wait, who?" And she was like, I was like, "Have I met him or her? Who?" And she was like, "No, he lives in Pennsylvania." She's like, "And I think she used to live out here for a certain amount of time."
So, Joanne and I met in college, Messiah College, and we went to Messiah had a Philly campus at the time.
Okay.
A Philadelphia campus. And so Joanne and I spent our junior and senior year together with like 60 other students. Very intimate little campus.
That makes sense. Okay.
And so we really bonded during that. And then she was as a city girl. I think she went to London and wherever. And then now she's in New York. And me as a filmmaker at the time, like I'm a New Yorker, Philadelphia guy now, but at the time I needed a place to crash, and so for 20 years until I got my own apartment in New York City, for 20 years I was crashing on Joanne's couch.
Yeah.
You know, thank you, Joanne, for introducing me to Philip and for many couch nights.
Visitations. Cheers to that.
So you're not a New Yorker originally. You're from Texas, right?
Originally from Texas. I like to say I was stationed in Texas, even though I wasn't military, because I was in a band and we traveled all the time. So imagine this: there's 365 days in a year. We were doing
367 days on the road.
We were doing about 250 plus. That was the minimum.
Yeah.
250 shows a year.
Yeah.
And so the way we counted our shows were per day. So if we did 3 shows in one day, that was still one show.
Yeah.
That's the way we counted. So we were actually doing more shows.
Wow.
So if we had to be on the radio and then had to do a bookstore acoustic and then do the actual show at night, that was considered one show to us.
You were working. You were working.
We were just working, right?
Yeah.
So we did a lot of shows. I have 3 brothers.
You're supposed to tell a joke and then laugh.
I'm sorry. No, I just realized what I did. And like now that I'm replaying it in my head, I'm going, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. So they have this inflatable microphones.
Yeah.
We were in Nebraska, and they asked us to do a radio spot.
Yeah.
This is so goofy. And the only people that showed up were children. That was it. And our show is family, so kids are, anybody could be entertained. But we did not expect that. So my brother looked at me. He was also in the band. He was the keyboardist and lead singer, and was like, "This is your crowd." And he was like, "You want to lead the songs?" I was like, "No, you lead, but let me entertain."
Yeah.
So he sat at the keyboard in the back, singing as if he was like the drummer who can't be seen, and was singing the songs, and I was in the front, just being super animated. And I took this inflatable microphone that has just a squeaky sound, beep, 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 every time you squeak because the air is coming out, and I played a solo on it. And the kids ate it up to the point that I said, we got to include this in the show tonight.
Yeah.
Because these same kids are coming.
Yeah.
So in the middle of our show, my band, who's just, we're prima donnas, looking to be rock stars, and I pull out this inflatable microphone to do a solo at night. And they're like, I can't believe he actually got the microphone and actually did this.
It's funny. So it's funny hanging out with a lot of stand-up comics now. You hear these like horror stories of like, I showed up and did, I usually do clubs and I showed up and it was all like it's a play group,
right?
Or random. You guys were touring around with this band. What kind of band was it?
And we were funk rock, so it was like Chicago, the band.
Yeah.
Meets Food Fighters. That's the best example. If those two got married, that's what we sounded like.
And then you had a bunch of 10-year-olds coming out.
At that show we did. Specifically that show. And you do this radio spot, they hear the kids in the background laughing and having a good time. It's commercialized. It's now a kids show. I got 6 other 20-year-old, 30-year-old guys in the band going like, you joking, right?
How we getting chicks with this?
I know, right? It was like, great. Just hit on moms or something. So, but it was fun, and they understood because it's like, you got to play to your crowds. Like, you don't bring out a full band to a coffee shop. You do acoustic shows. So, but it was good. It just, I it was just like inflatable microphone. Really inflatable. That's what you're gonna go with. Exactly. And and it has no tone. No, it's just one tone only.
You get the air in and out, or just out?
It was just out. And here's the greatest thing. So, it was that kind of silliness that led me to, and everyone's like, "You're not afraid of looking stupid, basically. You're not afraid." And so it was like, that's to me the beginning of.
I think for me it was different. I looked stupid, and then I grew the balls to be afraid not to look stupid.
Right. It's just it's just too fun. And maybe I grew up under watching people like Robin Williams and Jim Carrey. So it was like, that was natural. Yeah. It was just like, hey, they do it. Okay, I can do it. It's like, it's a little bit more acceptable. So it just kind of made leeway for me not to feel bad or not to feel silly.
Yeah.
Even though I knew I looked silly.
Yeah.
And so, but that's what made room for.
So if you're tuning in on audio, how dare you? But this is also on YouTube and Patreon, and behind us we have some screens, and we have is it just 3 you've been in so far? 3 shorts?
I think it's just been these 3.
So Phillipp has been featured in 3 of our short films. You can see on our YouTube channel and our Patreon. We have our first working experiment together where we went all in, man. Our first go round.
You did.
We made Phillipp the Easter Bunny.
I was shocked. That caught me completely off guard.
Prosthetic nose, whiskers,
I knew it was
ears.
going to be in it. I knew it was going to be about the Easter Bunny. I didn't know it was going to be me. So I was like, okay. So when I was giving you lines over the phone, I didn't think it was going to be me.
Oh, really?
I didn't think me. I was just like, hey, I even told you, I'll audition. If I'm not it, don't worry about it.
Oh, I wrote it for you, man.
I didn't know that.
I got to be better about communication, you know.
No, hey.
You show up on set, and here's your lines. Here's your whiskers.
And action, go.
No, that was like super. That was a great little spot. Check it out. Every Easter, we kind of put it out there on Facebook and YouTube again. But and then we did a huge musical number called "You Came."
Oh my gosh.
Which is a little bit blanking on the
musical.
It's a musical. We did a musical, an 8-minute musical in a day with 50 people in front of the camera.
Unheard of.
A crew of like 15 or 20 behind the camera, and Phillipp plays the dejected boyfriend, or the dejected wannabe boyfriend.
Replaced wannabe boyfriend.
Yeah, and also a flag dancer leader. So of this church. So if you're on the podcast, we can see him glaring at the main character who shows up with his dream girlfriend.
That was fun because you guys gave me some freedom. Like, I don't know how well you all know flag dancers.
Yeah.
So like that ability to give me that.
I've never personally known a flag dancer well.
Okay.
But I am more familiar with color guard.
Okay, right. So
as a marching band, having a varsity letter in marching band, we were very familiar with the color guard, Lewisburg High Dragons rules.
Go.
Lewisburg color guard. You guys are almost in time, but maybe it's the rhythm section for the band that was throwing you off.
Yeah, it was freedom. So I grew up in a charismatic church, so seeing these flag dancers all the time, that's why with the phone I could probably deliver the imagery so well.
Yeah,
it's because like I grew up with seeing this, and I just remember as a child you're going, this again?
Yeah.
Okay, but then like everything, it evolves. They go.
Did we? I think on that shoot, we actually were like thinking about how to bring your character back a second time.
Yeah. And
I think that we were like, we need the flag dancers come in. Oh, wait a minute. What if Phillipp's character is the flag dance leader? Right in the middle, glaring, flag dancing, and
I forgot who came up with that, but that was a rich moment. Yeah. Because I think as a whole unit, everybody was like, yes. Bring that character back, and it was just like, okay, all right. Yeah.
I think, and then our last one, which I think of all the shorts we've done, definitely featured your acting ability, and that's the short film Kevin and Keith, which right now is exclusive on our Patreon, for people that donate $4 or more a month, and that dude, I was very impressed with that. I think we did a rehearsal over the phone, maybe, or
we did a rehearsal
in person. Yeah,
we came out. You actually came out because you had a shoot, and then but that wasn't until tonight, and we met up with the actress
Claire Kraus, who also produced that short. Thank you, Claire.
And we were able to practice. Like in her personal life, she does like weapons and stuff. She practices with spears and weapons and stuff. So like, there's a moment where I have to get slapped, and she's like, I don't want to do it. And I was like, hey, if you're not comfortable,
That was funny because you guys were both being like,
so accommodating to each other.
Too accommodating. I'm like, this is the moment you slap him. Like, you know,
Right.
and you were like, if you don't want to, you were being so polite and wonderful to her.
Right.
And being like, I don't want to hurt your feeling. I don't want your feelings to get hurt when you slap me.
Yeah, I've been on sets and I've helped people where you might have to use maybe the N-word because you're doing Huckleberry Finn or something like that, and people are like, I can't do this role. I can't, and this, Caucasian is just like, I can't do it. Sorry. I thought I was ready for it. It can't come out of where. Can we replace it? If not, grab my understudy, and I'm sorry, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, whoa. So when you see things like that, you just want to work with people's levels.
Yeah.
Kind of like COVID. Can we hug or not hug? Do we touch? Shall we wear a mask? What's the distance here?
Yeah.
So
all of these stand across the street.
The street, so you just yell the questions to me.
Yeah.
So all these things play a factor. So I'm just like, hey,
great. It stands to your graciousness and also Claire's graciousness. And I think at one point I was like, you guys are being too nice. I know you both. You're artist.
Right.
F the niceties. Let's
right.
Slap the boy.
So I said, hey. So actually, when you said that, I said, okay, start your softest, and I'll tell you to get stronger because she takes defensive training. She knew different levels.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, right there, that'll help move my face.
Yeah.
If we ever do a camera shot. So the practice was fun. The shot was done really well. We
But your acting too is like so good. Do you have any formal acting training?
I do not have any formal acting. My formal acting training came from stories what I told you in the beginning.
Yeah.
Which was in the moment.
Yeah.
It just like the moment, requires this. So jump into that character and do it. You have it was like 35 10-year-olds on that gig.
Yeah.
And it was like, we can't do our show for these 10-year-olds because they won't really get it.
You adjusted. You saw the audience. You knew where they were at. You adjusted.
You got to read the crowd. You know what I'm saying? I can't talk about carpentry to a bunch of astronauts. It was like, what are you talking about? We're trying to navigate black holes.
Yeah.
So,
we need to build a wooden desk chair.
Exactly.
Suck that into the black hole.
It's not that they don't care about mathematics. That would
Yeah.
keep them interested. But overall, it's like, okay, it's just a desk, though. Where's the aerodynamics? How do we get across? So you just you read the crowd and you go with it, and it was fun though. But that's the thing is when you jump into that character, and it's not always successful, but if you still enjoy it, like what, if I just adjusted this way, I think it would have been better. You take notes like this is where I failed, okay, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
You can't grow unless you admit that you failed somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Being successful 100% does not exist. It's that failure. It's like, okay, I failed right here. I start losing the crowd right here. This actually saved me, and it wasn't me. It was this one person in the audience that yelled out, "You're the funny guy!" And everybody bust out laughing. That saved me and redeemed me to bring them back in. So it's not always just you that helps save the crowd, or even the movie or the film, the producer, the writer, the extra. The person's like, hey, would it be easier if she stops before she says that? So
It's interesting. It's interesting, there's a lot of talk about labeling right now, and somebody in the crowd labeled you the funny guy. In this story, maybe you made it up, I don't know. But someone in the crowd labels you the funny guy, and you like, well, I can, right now I can't, I got this squeaky microphone, and that's engaging, and you kind of just fall into those things. There's so many labels that we kind of like, someone labels us something, and we like take it and own it.
Yeah.
Whether that's good or bad.
Yeah, it's a two-way street. We did a festival, and this festival was everybody. I mean, it was a 3-day festival. People were camping out there, everything. I was called the funny guy from Texas. That title was too long for me. It was just too long. It was like, hey, funny guy from Texas. Like, that's so much time wasted. I know that sounds like so weird, but, and
can we just shorten it to funny guy, please?
I literally renamed myself Psycho at this festival. It's like, hi, I'm Psycho. And they was like, okay, psycho. And they just took with it. I think they didn't want to say the long phrase that they created. You know? It's like, oh, good. It's just psycho.
Oh, my word. Thank goodness.
I know. 3 syllables.
We can just call him Psycho.
There we go.
2
Let's get rid of this.
Funny guy from Texas. 7 down to 2.
7 down to 2. Just wash
I think I just counted that wrong. That's 6. But
okay. The point is less, you know, psycho. And, you know, like, thinking of a word versus words.
I wish that I could go back to my freshman year of college. I think there's this opportunity. I'm talking to all you high schoolers that are about to go to college.
Oh, yeah.
Or you're about to graduate, you're moving towns. There's an opportunity.
That move?
There's an opportunity for you to just rebrand yourself. I've always wanted just to go by Snake.
Get out! Dude, I am not joking when I say one of my best friend's father goes by the name Snake.
I think it's just like, I need to, please call me Snake from now on.
So what is it? What is it?
Podcaster formerly known as Kevin Agberg.
Tell me about this. Why Snake? What is it?
I think it's like this bad boy name that I totally don't live up to. So it's like, so to me it's just like it's just a bit of comedy.
It's okay. Like, so it gives you looking like a.
What's your name? Snake. You
know, you think twice about it. It was like
this tall, lanky, goofy-looking white dude that's like named Snake.
Here's the thing: you're not as lanky as you think. You know what I'm saying?
The barrel-chested, the arms.
Right.
The arms like kind of flow around and do whatever they want to do.
They do whatever they want.
It's like a barrel with like 4 tentacles come off of it. You
know? The way you walk to me is not as friendly as you're describing.
That is friendly?
As frailly.
Oh,
just,
frailly.
Just like, you know, vulnerable. You know, you're not there. You got nice square shoulders enough.
I can be vulnerable.
Oh, get out of here. We all are vulnerable. But thankfully you can be vulnerable. Or you can do this. You can do emotion without being vulnerable.
What, so you were touring around Texas, entertaining the chillins, and
not just Texas. We toured around the states.
Yeah.
You know what? I think there was only 2 places we didn't go, and I think that was New York and California. I think we hit pretty much every state. So you're based out of Texas, touring around every state except for 2. A little prejudice against those 2 states, and then and how did you? What happened then? Like I saw you in New York City, but I also saw some videos of you doing some video. When did you start getting into like some video? Everybody in the band, there were 6 of us. It was 2 of my brothers and 2 other brothers and 1 individual. So it was kind of like a family business, and every one of us wanted to be in cinema. It was funny. We were all sitting, playing music, doing live things, and each and every one of us wanted to be in cinema. We talk about the type of movies we wanted to write. What is you gonna be more comedy? It was like, and I at that time was really into, I would say, offbeat comedies, kind of like Suburbicon. Just not as gory, but I like that everything is smiling, you know, and something gruesome is happening right in front of you, and you're just like, does anybody know this? You know? And my first experience to that, which wasn't a comedy, was this old movie called Time Machine, the old one. All right, and there's a lady drowning, and everybody's sitting there watching, and it's because the atmosphere has become so emotionless. They don't really understand what help is, or they don't understand apathy or empathy. So they just kind of watch her drown. And this guy who's from the past jumps in and like saves her. And so to me, there was a part of me that wanted to laugh because they were told as actors, keep a straight face, don't show emotion, you know. So just watch. And they're just looking at her. She's like, help, help, help. And so in this movie Time Machine, that was the first time that I partially laughed. Because it's like, that's actually funny that if you're on set, you can't show emotion. And I think that was one of the first times I thought about the production of something. And I was like, that's kind of offbeat though. You know, that's messed up. And I was like, I bet you can make that funny. And so when I start seeing more things like that, Fargo is another good one. But these brothers, they just do a really good job of bringing that, you know, that 1950s feel with what's really happening in the real world. So I really enjoyed that dark, but real type of humor. It's like, okay, everything is Disney, but but everything is Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. It's a great mashup. Yeah,
right. It's like,
that's a great. One more time for our listeners at home.
the sound goes.
Yeah.
that twist to it.
I laughed over top of it. One more time, we're gonna like.
Okay.
That's gonna be for the Funny&Amen dark comedy. That's gonna be
Right.
Funny&Amen. Amen. I love it. Derek, you're editing this. Please chunk that out. Put it in our library of way we end shorts. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was it in Texas that you did the hallway ministries?
Texas, really great friend, Bob
Tell
Helen.
us about hallway ministries. Yeah.
Bob Helen and I moved out of an apartment. I'm trying to think how I started living with him. I can't remember the situation, but I knew he and his wife for almost 10 years. And so I was looking for a place to stay, and I was like, hey, you guys want to make some extra money? Have me as a roommate. And it was like, that actually sounds pretty cool. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, cool. So we haggled with prices where I didn't want to be, rude or mean.
During this part of the podcast, Philip digresses into a real estate educational transaction history.
So
if you're like me, you appreciate rent.
Exactly.
Note to self, you don't have to pay the whole lease. You can get roommates. Continue.
So I moved in with them, and it was cool. And he's a great writer, really good writer. And so every time I have an idea, I pitch it to him, and he can actually put it on screen, basically. Mm-hmm. And so, or hand it to a director to go like, this is what we're doing, and this is why. And so he could do the screenwriting, and he can actually write the story. So I made a joke. I said, dude, have you realized in Texas, anything that's left empty, any real estate, no matter what, they're going to turn it into a church. And so they was like, what? I was like, man, if this was a porta potty and it was empty, it would be called Bible Wasteland Community Church. And he was like, what? And so they just start pitching things to me, like, what if it was a copying machine? It's a different thing. And they're like, what about the hallways? That would be Hallway Ministries. And Bob just had an epiphany. He lost it. Like, there's some people who laugh out loud. Hey, right? Yeah. But he laughed like that. But this time, it was so funny he couldn't breathe. Yeah. He went, and there was this silence there. We're like, breathe. And so he's like, I got it, Philip. I got an idea. And I was like, all right, go for it. So he pitched me the idea. He's like, let me get it out of first. He was rolling. It took him like 2 days because every time I would hear him in his bedroom just busting out laughing. It was a great idea when I said that. And he told me the character and was like, do you think you could do it? And I was like, I could do this. You gotta share that with me so I can share it with everybody on Funny&Amen, because that was the first time. That's when I knew you had it. I was just like, I watched this YouTube video called Hallway Ministries. So Bob Hedlund is his name, great writer, and he wrote the script and put me in front of the camera and said, okay, these are the sections where you can improv. But these have to be said because this is going to be part of the story. So I would improv, say the lines, or sometimes say the lines and improv. And so he gave me the sections. Like I said, he's really good. He helped the camera. He was like, this is the hallway. This is perfect. He was like, if this girl's big enough, we'll use different hallways every time. But, oh, man, we had fun. We made like 3 or 4 of them. Yeah. And so it was just funny. And then that's when I ended up moving to New York. But like I said, it was just a joke that he caught a vision of what I said and just oh gosh,
that's awesome. That was good. So you're in New York, and then you had some YouTube success.
Yes, I was working at this. I never got permission to say their name, so I was working for this beer distributor, is what I'll say, and it was in Brooklyn, and I get this call from one of the managers. I would go in at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I get this call. It's like, hey, there's a certain section you can't go to, cause there's a raccoon over there. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. So is everybody okay? They was like, well, in that section is where we cherry pick some of the beers, and we're just gonna scratch them today. Scratching means we're not gonna put them on the truck. So we're not going to put those beers on the truck over there because the raccoon, we don't know if he's climbing, where he's at. So, all right, cool. No problem. So I get in, and we see the raccoon. It's me and this gentleman named Bill Benson. He's standing right there. He was like, and I look at him, and we're like 10 feet away. He just nudged, like, it's over here. So I walk over there, and this raccoon is just stumbling. And I'm like, oh, no. This thing is drunk. So I just pull out my phone and start recording it. But what made me pull out my phone was he stood up. And he was wobbling like this. I was like,
he was on his hind legs.
He was on his hind legs, and I was trying to catch it, and I was too late. But I caught him right when he just limped completely over. And so I showed my friend, and she said, Philip, this is going to go viral. You need to post this. And I was like, what? She's like, no, I'm not kidding. She's like, this is too hilarious. So there I go. I posted, and at that time I had a Twitter account, but I didn't pay no attention. I put it on there, but I didn't pay no attention. And so finally, through Instagram and Facebook, this guy contacts me and goes, this is hilarious. We want to buy this from you. And so at this time, in one night, I had 3,000 hits, which is when you post, like, I barely had any friends. So when you post, I think it was like, I don't know what time it was, but it was evening.
Yeah.
So the sun wasn't out, and I posted. And when I wake up before noon, I had 3,000 hits. So I was like, in the middle of the night, what's going on? Anyway, the next night, I had 10,000 hits, and I was like, what is going on? Then I get this email, and it's like, we want to buy this from you. So I called the guy, and he was like, I'll give you $300 for that video. And I was like, I'm not selling it. I mean, you can distribute for me, but I'm not going to sell it anyway. So we haggled. Back to haggling.
Everything is a business opportunity.
So we haggled, and he said, this is my final offer. I'll give you $700 for the video. And I was like, all right, man, well, you have a good one. And then he hung up the phone. I hung up the phone. He calls me back. All right, we're about 40% from you. So I was like, all right, deal. You can distribute it, but I own it. So I got the contract. I read it. I sent it back to make sure, and I changed some things, some phrasing on there. Yeah. Because basically it means they kind of owned it. Yeah. So I scratched that out, put my initials, and wrote what I said. I own this video. They signed it. So, yeah, and then it exploded, and it. I don't even know if I told you this, but I did interviews with ABC Japan, 3 major internet companies in Russia.
Wow.
Over the phone. And they were like, I did one Skype, and they were like, oh my gosh, so what happened? Tell us. And so I just had to go through the whole deal. And so by the end of it, it was like 300 million hits.
Wow.
And that was 300 million hits in 3 years.
So we need to drink a little bit more whiskey, wander into a beer distributor, and just stumble around. And maybe we'll be viral too, you know?
Yeah. So what ended up happening was, this is a true story. I was getting contacted by people who saw a raccoon, and they were asking me, what should I do? Like I was an expert. All I did was record a raccoon.
You pull your phone and you videotape it, and
right. And I was like, well, what should I do? I want him to get out of the way from my car. I don't know, scare him.
Call animal control.
I know. Call 911. I don't know what to do.
I work in a beer distributor. Do you need beer?
Right. I'm an analyst. All I can do is tell you, be happy. So I can't forget when I start getting calls about that.
Pray to Jesus.
I know. It's like, pray him out. It's shocking just because they associate the two. Yeah. And they know you, so they're like, I'm going to call the expert.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not an expert.
That's like me going to, college for production of radio, TV, and film programming.
Oh, there you go.
And then everybody coming home and be like, hey, my VCR's not working. Can you...
Right, my DVD's not working, man. I can't get this.
We didn't learn that in school. I was before DVDs, so...
Right. My DVR can't record this certain episode. Why not?
You're gonna have to call maybe the repairman, or
call your cable network.
It was only $100. Go back and it's
that's so true though. They think you know it all.
Yeah. So so you're also dabbling in real estate now, and first off, thank you, man, for coming and being part of these things. It's been really amazing to kind of get to know you over the course, and since I've met you, you've gotten engaged and married to a pretty darn fine woman.
To me, my relationship is a television relationship. And she doesn't like it when I say that, but it's so true. It's like anytime you watch TV, you see this guy could be completely overweight, sloppy, doesn't do his eyebrows, doesn't shave, and he walks in with this hot, beautiful wife because they know you got to have something eye-appealing to keep people watching. And so... That's me, because I didn't shave, I wouldn't do it. She convinced me, baby, just shave. And I was like, I don't want to shave. And everybody knew. It was like, how did you get her? And I was like, I think she's blind, but I'm not saying anything.
You're her project.
Exactly. It's a bet. I'll find out in 10 years. I wanted to see if I can. But it's literally, she's beautiful, she's wonderful. And, if she's not faking it, she loves me.
If she's faking it, the Oscar goes.
Too, exactly. No, it was great. I flew out to India to meet her parents, and it was fun. They embraced me as if I was one of theirs.
Where'd you guys meet?
We met in New York. She came with a group from California. So she was based in California. She came with the group, and I forgot where they were going.
New York. They made it.
They made it to New York, but they were going somewhere. I think it was like the stock exchange or maybe or something. Anyway, so there's a facility that I work with called Life Center Church. And they were using that as their grounds to say, okay, they'll meet with the liaisons and have their meetings and what are we going to do today and stuff like that. So it was a pretty big group. I think it was 35 of them or more. Anyway, I saw her. And I'm affiliated with this church, and they were like, hey, Phil, can you handle... can you help them get around the city and do whatever? And so I saw her, and I was like,
yes.
Who is the competition? That was my first thought. Well, because when you travel, everybody knows you get closer to people.
Yeah.
So that my first thought is who is the competition? So I scanned the room.
I gotta take him. I gotta hey, let's cross on this. No, you can cross here.
Oh, no. On this highway, you just run across. Just go.
You first.
So anyway, I knew the team leader. I got a hold of him after they left. They left. They were there for a week and they were gone. I got a hold of the team leader. Jason McKenzie, you did me justice. So I got a hold of Jason, and Jason was like, what? You're interested in her? And I was like, yeah. I was like, so I'm just telling you straightforward. So it went from there. I befriended her on Facebook. I said, you ain't got to do nothing. So I befriended her on Facebook. You know how you befriend somebody and you look how many friends you have.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's over 35. She'll accept me.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I start liking every single page that she posts. Everything she like. I was like. This is very good. I didn't even read it. I don't even know what she posted.
Stalking does pay off, guys. That's
internet stalking can be helpful.
It's the first step toward a modern digital relationship.
Well, she was just so far. And a part of me was like, there's plenty in New York. But I couldn't get her out of my head. That's the problem. So I was like, all right. So I pursued her, and slowly it went from just talking on the comments to Messenger, which is one-on-one, just talking to each other. So at one time, we had this really long conversation because I intentionally called her out of her name. I said, you are so goofy. And she was like, I am not goofy. And when a lady wants to be beautiful, they don't want to be looked at as goofy.
Yeah.
Like, I held myself modest and beautiful the whole time.
Yeah.
Where did you get goofy?
You're like, I'm planning a long future together, and there's going to be some laughter involved.
That's right. Just get ready. So I finally said, hey, did I ever get your number?
Yeah.
And say, here's the funniest thing. Whether it's a text message, an email, when you want a fast response, every second feels like a year.
Yeah.
It was like... You're just waiting, like, come on, respond.
That's an amazing heartbeat you used. I don't know how you did that.
Oh, yeah, you're just right here.
I can't do that. It's crazy. Cool. Nice.
You're just waiting, and finally it's like, bling! You're like, I got the number!
Wait, is that a real number?
Right. But I didn't waste any time. I called her the next day, and then I called her every 2 days after that. And then on the 8th day after I got her number, I was like, look, this is the deal.
Yeah. I've been stalking you, and
I'm not looking for friends.
Yeah.
I'm a really friendly guy. I can make friends easy here.
Yeah.
So you're in California. But the reason I've been chasing you is because I'm interested. And so she was like, what? I'm flattered. Ooh, So, yeah.
You realize she's going to watch this and hear that.
Oh, my gosh.
Has she heard your version of her voice?
This is the first time I did it this low. I normally do it higher.
Okay.
Because I like to be really animated in front of her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, yeah.
I don't think I do. I don't do Meg's voice, but Meg for sure does my voice.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
She has gotten really good at imitating me, though.
Okay.
Pretty has done a real... Like, I've never heard myself as well as when she imitates me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is me.
Meg's version, I would hope, is not a direct reference. It's more of a caricature.
And that's what she does. Because she imitates me because I over-exaggerate.
Yeah.
So she takes a portion and over-exaggerates it.
Yeah.
But she does a really good job. I will say that.
Meg, I do love your imitations of me.
Yeah.
As
that's
false,
bragging.
no, hyperbolic as they may be, they amuse me. So keep going. I love it.
So, yeah. So I got married September last year.
Nice, congrats.
First. Yeah, man. So this is our 10th month.
Cool.
June 1st. This past June 4th.
Awesome, man.
So it's been a lovely ride. It's been some ups and downs, but overall, man, it's glad I'm with her.
What's it? So you're newlyweds, and up comes a pandemic.
So this is the beautiful thing about getting married this year.
Yeah. So you're saying, as a newlywed, a pandemic is amazing.
Is that being together with somebody is way better than like waiting. So I was trying to convince her to do it this year around spring, summer. Her brother got married in January, so I was like, let's wait till after his wedding. Let's not push it. Let's not come on. She's like, I don't really want to walk into 2020 married. I want to be married. And I was like, all right, babe, this is what you want. Let's do it. So we got married. And I like to make this joke that our wedding reception went on tour.
Nice.
So you were at the second wedding reception. Yeah. So the first one was in Dallas. The second one was in New York. The third was in India. So our wedding reception went on tour.
Are there more dates?
Due to the pandemic, we canceled all.
When's the children's show?
Oh gosh!
with the squeaky mic to come out.
Squeaky mic coming out. So we went on tour. But this is the funniest thing. Imagine just one tone coming out though. Yeah. That's all it was. Exactly. You're just like, is he actually doing a solo?
Yeah.
So she was right. It was a good thing we got married last year. Nice. And I didn't argue with her too much. I was just trying to convince her, like, are you sure? You sure you don't want to wait? Yeah. Just to be easier. Potentially, certain things could change. And
nice, yeah.
But no, that was actually best. We got married last year. Went to a place that people rarely go, which is Alaska. Oh my gosh. Alaska's like walking in a painting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And we went in September, right before the snow hits. Yeah. And all you can see is white, which is also just as beautiful. So we got all the fall colors of the mountains with the snow still on top. Oh my gosh, it was. Sometimes we would drive and you roll down the window and you're like, we're the only car for 20 minutes. Sometimes that's scary, but there it's just everybody's so friendly and nice. It's just you don't get that feeling.
I think we're about to reboot this gift, but typically as a wedding gift, this is before Meg, BM, I would give as a wedding gift a DVD. Also before digital, I'd give people a wedding gift of the movie So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh, that's funny.
As a wedding gift, it's like what is this about? And I should have gave that to you before you guys went to Alaska.
Yeah.
No cars for 20 miles.
But here's the funny. They have these voice notes on here, right?
Yeah.
So I get there and I say, sweetie, if I record this, they'll just think I didn't record anything. And so she's like, you're right. If it wasn't for the breeze, you wouldn't know that you're recording anything. So I just hit record and I let it sit for like 20 minutes. And you literally, for 5 minutes, in the distance, this is how quiet it is. You hear slowly, it comes, this little fly. And for 5 minutes, you hear it entering in and then flying right over the phone and going past it. And you're like, oh my gosh. Like, literally, you could hear and see the frequency of when the fly entered. It was just, that's how quiet it was. It was just like that.
Wow.
And it was just for the longest time. So
beautiful. I think especially here on the East Coast, we don't get quiet a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Pure quiet or pure darkness or pure nature.
That's why everybody goes like Poconos. That's why people go upstate.
Yeah.
Canada. Because but it was beautiful.
Nice.
You can't take that away. It literally, like everything you see in movies, you probably could see there.
Yeah.
In one shot.
This episode of the Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends podcast is brought to you by Dad's Hat Pennsylvania Rye Whiskey. Dad's Hat is real rye whiskey made the right way. This month's featured bottle is Classic Rye. Barrel aged for at least 6 months in charred new oak quarter cask allows the genuine rye flavor to evolve quickly. As a result, this small batch whiskey is ensured of reaching the right balance of complexity and smoothness. The final product is a very smooth spirit that delivers upfront spice that rye is known for while finishing with a full, round mouthfeel. To find a distributor of this award-winning whiskey, head on over to dadshatrye.com. Or if you're a Pennsylvania resident, you can have any of their delicious rye whiskeys delivered right to your door. Trust the distillery with over 200 years of American distilling tradition, Dad's Hat Rye. Please enjoy responsibly. So I know that we're having this conversation at the, as some states are starting to go yellow and green in terms of the post COVID quarantines, and then literally, we're having this conversation in Philadelphia. You live in Queens, and days, if not a week or days after, there's a ATM pulling up on my corner, 4 blocks away here at Kensington and Allegheny, and I think, but let's get into that conversation in a second because there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah.
But first off, the question I always bring up is, in these podcasts is, what do you think of Jesus?
Well, that is a very, very, believe it or not, that is actually the foundation of everyone's existence. And not everybody knows it. If you can answer who, I'm going to just use this word on purpose, just God, but I'm going to get back to the word Jesus. If you can answer who God is in your life, it really defines your identity. What you think of God. So if you think God is a wise man, then it actually limits how much you want to pay attention to his word. If you think of him, this is really important. Do you think his wisdom is relevant to today? Then it makes you pay attention to him. Number 3, this is the key. Do you think he is successful?
God is successful.
See, that's the thing. Everybody follows a successful guy. Everybody follows a successful guy. So we could take marketing, for example, and he was actually one of the first commercialized marketers. He would go into a town, tell a parable and leave. It won't explain it. That's the same thing when you're driving down the highway. You're not hungry, but you see a windy side. Woof, just really quick. But then when you get hungry, you remember that windy side. Oh, it said 10 miles away. Well, I'm going to stop there and grab something. See, he commercialized himself. He walked into a town, told a parable, didn't explain it, and left. And these people are like, I don't get it. Why did you tell me that story? So he was marketing himself.
It's like David Lynch.
There you go.
Don't tell the ending. No wrap up.
No wrap up. So in that mindset is, do you think he is successful? And if you think he is successful, that's why you follow him. And for me, that is what I think of Jesus. I think he is successful. I think his peace methods, and something people don't really like to talk about, his anger methods, because his anger is also based in love and peace. His war methods, read the story of David and all the kings. He told them to go to war. I think all these are based in love and identity. And so if you think of Jesus as a person who was wise, who did something nice for you so you can go to heaven, and that's it, then that actually has an effect on your identity. Because if you look at all these movies and stories, maybe you read books or maybe you just listen to poetry, if you listen to the stories of people who did not know they were the son of a king, the son of a prince, and then all of a sudden when you see them, once they know who they are, then their identity changes and how they speak. It may be still peaceful and humble, but now it's done peacefully humble with authority. See, that changes. And so my thought of Jesus is he is so successful at being peaceful, humble, authoritative. And after all these years, he's still around. I believe he's a living God. So he is successful. And so that's why I can say my thoughts of him is success.
Success that ended in death. How do you pair that?
Success ended in life. He resurrected. So he gave his life to prove. What did it say in 1 Corinthians 15? It's around 50 something. He says, I conquered death. Death has no sting on me. So the reason he is successful is because, put it to you like this, all the lawyers, especially in the 80s and 90s, all the lawyers are trying to examine what did the Constitution mean when he said this, right? What's the spirit of the law? How do we interpret this? Because that was written so long ago. So imagine that God wrote the Bible. He's still alive to explain it to you. So you don't have to just listen to the pastor. You can actually talk to Jesus yourself and find out, what did you mean? And explain this to me. So in the same sense, this is better because we're not talking to a dead God. We're talking to a God who's alive, who can actually explain what he wrote through the men that he used to write it. So the story of Genesis, you'd be surprised how many people who are not believers believe this story. That maybe their names on Adam and Eve, but they believe it was first male and female, right? So if everybody's believing the story, for this example, then isn't it funny that their thought of the beginning still started with two? And Moses, who wrote these scriptures, wasn't around during that time. But the world has started to believe. CEOs, they'll tell you they believe it. And successful CEOs, not these one-hit wonders, but successful people. Bill Gates, all these people started with two. Yes, I believe that. And God told Moses to write that. Moses wasn't around when it happened. So it's like that proves that there's a living God communicating on what to write, because Moses wrote Genesis. So I see Jesus, my thought of Jesus is successful for every era. No matter what decade, century, or millennium we're in, he is successful.
Some people would categorize there's three options for Jesus. Maybe a fourth. Lord, liar, lunatic.
Lord, liar. Oh, yeah, I heard that.
What are your thoughts about those three labels for Jesus?
Lord is funny because there's a timing for everything. And the timing for him coming was to say he came at a time where there was kingdoms. He didn't come at a time where there was prime ministers and democracy. And that was intentional. So what's the purpose of him coming doing where there's kingdoms? Because a king owns everything. If he comes down and your daughter is single, he can say, I want her to be my wife. Now, cruel kings would take her either way. Well, that's cruelty, you know. We're not talking about cruel kings. We're talking about good kings. And there was, you know, history always tell about the bad kings, which is understandable because they make great stories. But when you talk about...
They make good villains.
You make great villains, you know.
Would you like to marry me? That guy's your villain. You got to rewrite the story.
Exactly. Like, nah, we need to be harsh and mean. Yeah. Make you hate this guy to keep you watching. So, but you're dealing with a good king, and if you were single, he could say, can I take your daughter's hand in marriage? You know? And it's an honor because he owns the land, no matter what. Wherever you live, he owns the land. So he came at a time to show, like, no, I hold the world in my hand. And it's on purpose. So Lord, liar, he is not. And I know the scriptures might sound like they contradict, but he's trying to show relevance. And I'll give you an example. So there's a story that everybody knows called the Prodigal Son. Prodigal Son talks about how the father receives the son back after the son runs away with all of his inheritance and spends it all recklessly. He doesn't gain anything. He loses everything. He comes back. Okay. So you take that same principle of the father receiving the son and you apply it to David. You can't. Why? Because David's sons were trying to kill him. So it sounds like the scriptures are contradicting. No, he's saying, no, I'm the good father. You see what I'm saying? You can't apply every principle exactly the same way. And he's trying to say, I'm a God of principle, not of method. And you're trying to make it a mythology. I'm not mystical. I'm principle. My love stands the same all the time. So he didn't tell David, receive your sons with open arms. Because his sons wanted the kingdom and was trying to kill him. That story didn't come out 2 years later. You see what I'm saying? But it's the same God and he knows the principle. He said, I love you no matter what. But I know I can't allow your son to... David, you don't say yes to meeting up with your son because he's going to kill you.
Yeah. Different son story.
Different son story. So, yeah. And I say that's because people...
Different wisdom's needed.
Different wisdom needed according to... So that's the difference between principle. Here's a principle. Well, the arena, I'm going to start off with this. The arena is math, but the principle is addition. How do you get to 10? 8 plus 2. 5 plus 5, 7 plus 3. Now, what is the principle that I used to get there? Always addition. I never said 10 negative 7.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. The principle is two things will equal a perfection.
A perfection.
Yeah.
So you're trying to get this sum, you're using addition.
Yeah.
So the principle stayed the same, but I used 3 different numbers, 3 different methods on how to reach
It's not always every father and son story does not equal the prodigal son story. Every father and son story does not, praise God, does not equal the King David and his son stories.
Right. It's not methodical, it's principle. So and that's the purpose of getting to know God, to how do I operate my principles in this life using these scriptures. And so, like, I can't operate the way you operate.
How much do you... So there's a couple more questions that my producer, Derek, thank you very much, Derek, gave me. I wanted to kind of throw out there. You mentioned that, in your opinion, that Jesus is a living God, right? What I find interesting about, I've asked this to some of my atheist or agnostic, guests as well. We've had some good conversations about it. Have you had supernatural experiences? Or paranormal experiences?
I have. Yes, I would say that. So, and I will tell you the story. Let me see. This is the best way I can show you is back to the band. I'll use a band story. So we're traveling. We go to this camp. This is a church camp. And we're in Kansas City. That's right. That's where we were. And I'm in the band, and I look like I'm 25 because I'm bald and I'm a little bit more stockier at that time.
At the time, you were 25.
Right, and at the time I was 25. At that time. So there's these two, I think, junior high, maybe just now turned junior high, and I see these two young ladies, and I call them by their name. And I go, oh, hey, how's it going? I'm just making up a name. Sarah and Barbara. It's good to see you guys again. And they look at me and they're stunned. And I go, hey, you guys remember talking to me last year? I was like, you told me that you were going to this situation with your mom, and you were doing this situation, and you told me you had a friend situation, and you knew she was coming here. Did you guys get that settled? And they looked at me, and it was like, I've never met you. And I was like, what? No. And I was like, oh, wait, is your name Sarah and you Barbara? And I was like, I am Sarah. And she said, I am Barbara. She's like, when did this happen? I said, last year. And they looked at each other, and I was like, we didn't come last year. I was like, yeah, you came last year. How did I know about these situations? You told me. And they were like, no, we didn't come because of those situations. We told our youth pastor we didn't want to come, and we didn't show up. And I was like, no, that's impossible. I remember sitting right over there, and it was like, I promise you, we did not come last year. So I said, okay, get your youth leader, and we'll meet in the lunchroom. So we met in the lunchroom, and I said, hey, do you remember bringing them? It's like, oh, no, these two didn't come last year. They couldn't come. And I was like, did they come? Because some people have concert days where guests can just show up. You know, it's not just limited to the campers. And it was like, oh, no. We told nobody, if you're not showing up for the camp, don't come at all. That's our church restrictions. We have our reasons. And I was like, okay, cool. So they were not here. And it was like, no, they were not here. And I was like, so how did I know? And right when I started to ask that question, I knew it was the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I knew the Holy Spirit impressed it on my heart. But he impressed it so heavily that I knew something about these two people I never met, and I thought I met them. And I discussed matters that they were actually going through that prevented them from coming the previous year. So they sat down with me, and I said, well, hey, if this is what God has shown me, if you guys get comfortable enough, you guys want to talk about this, and we'll pray into this. So they came in, and they was like, hey, can you do to... They brought in several other people. Can you do to these people what you did to us? And I was like, that's only if the Holy Spirit... I can't speak unless He has shown me something. Yeah. I said, let's pray. So I prayed. I said, nobody, don't tell me anything. And I sat there, and I read everybody's mail. I told them details. I said, now look, if you don't want me to read your mail, I don't want to say it out loud. So if you like, don't say anything about me. Two ladies said, don't say anything about me. And I didn't say anything about them. I didn't even ask God. I was like, tell me anyway. I want to know secrets. I'm not like that. Yeah. And God is actually, believe it or not, He's confidential. Yeah. He won't tell you. So everybody who said yes, He showed me something because they wanted to be known by God. And it wasn't Phillipp who knew them. They knew they were hearing from God because there's no way. I didn't know these people. Yeah. So I spoke with each and every one of them about a situation they were going through and one of the reasons why they wanted to come to this camp, to escape. Most of the people in that room were escaping from something. And so there were some points I said, now look, there are some people who had some situation. I said, you have to tell your leader, you can't keep this between us because harm is being done. And I was like, it's my legal obligation to inform you. You have to tell. So I said, if you want me to come with you, I'll come. You handle it your way. I'll back you up. So I sat in a room with 14 people, and God just revealed things to me, to them, because they wanted to hear from God.
Was that like a one-time occurrence, or
it's happened? It's happened more than once. This was the first I was put on the spot. So it wasn't like, just pray for me, and then there was an impression. This was the first time it was like, do to me what you did to me, do to them. Yeah. And I was like, huh. Yeah. But then I realized, it's a loving God. He loves to talk to His children. So here's the thing. If you look at it as power, you've already lost. And that's in 1 Corinthians. Oh, you may know all the spiritual wisdom of the world and ins and out, but without love, it's pointless. It means nothing. It absolutely it's trash. So when you operate out of love, it helps filter people away from feeling judged. And that's actually one of the number one things around the world is feeling judged. It's like, can I reveal myself to another person without feeling judged? And that even happens in marriage. It's like, can I express myself to this person, these thoughts, without feeling judged? And so there's sometimes what end up happening is there's a friend that you might have that you feel comfortable around, and you know they won't judge your stuff, they appreciate it. So you say something to them, and then that will come back to your spouse. And your spouse is like, you never told me that. And it's just like, well, you don't really like those kind of things, so I didn't express myself to you with that. And that's the thing, is we do things because we don't want to feel judged.
Yeah.
And so they had this freedom about them that gave them this liberty because I was just loving. It wasn't about me. And everything that I said, I prayed over with them, and I said, if I said anything that was a lie, I want you to tell me now, because I don't want you to feel obligated that just because they felt good about it. I was like, if I'm wrong, I'm just wrong, because this is about love. This is not about me. It's not a power. I'm operating because you want to hear from God as a priest for right now until I teach you how to hear from God.
Yeah.
So they were blessed by that.
Wow, that's cool. So.
And they did, the two young ladies did tell their youth leader, and he was like, Philip, I know their parents. I would have never known that was going on.
Yeah.
If you didn't.
That's what it's nuts. What I think these are great stories. I'm glad that we're kind of getting we're turning a little bit on the podcast and getting a little bit deeper into some of the things that because there are these experiences.
Yeah, they do happen.
That are spiritual. They're paranormal. They're not usual. They're supernatural. What's something about Christianity, or in general, what's something that people don't talk enough about?
What is something they don't talk about? I'll tell you what I believe the transition. I actually believe this is happening this year. I believe the transition of just going to church or listening to worship at least once a day or hearing sermon once a day. I believe these religious acts are dying. Because now I want you to read it out loud because there's 5 points I just hit, but I want to read the question one more time.
Oh, the question is, what's something regarding maybe in our case Christianity that people don't talk enough about?
Okay, so it was like so much. Okay, so
your brain's like
edit. They can't handle 24-hour film. So. I believe they don't talk enough, and I believe this is changing this year. I believe they don't talk enough about, am I at the right church? Every church, just like every grocery store, has a different mission. The same way a manager who, I'll just say it backward, a film producer might focus more on the acting, or the editor might focus more on the acting than the actual sound effects. Is where do you put most of your passion in? So everybody focuses differently. So I think that's one of the things that I actually see transitioning is they try to get to know you to say like, hey, you know what? What's a better fit church for you? We have some friends over here. And it's not to say we don't want you. It's to say it's like, no, but you're engaged in this. And they're familiar with that. So let's say you had trauma in your life. You had some trauma? Oh my gosh. You know what? I've had trauma. Everybody has had trauma. But I haven't dealt with the healing that these people have dealt with. And they can walk you through it better. And so, am I a fit versus there's another number in our church? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I feel like that transition that is happening is because churches are actually starting to walk with people, not talk to them.
Interesting.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like the good shepherd is shepherding, and it's like, hey, you're great. We love you.
So there's the good shepherd and there's the good TED talker.
Right. So, but the country was kind of founded on evangelism, so it was natural for us to preach at people, and preach to people versus teach and shepherd.
Yeah.
See, teaching and pastoring / shepherding, it's not the same. So the teacher explains everything while the shepherd walks you through it and helps see the grace on your life as you're operating. So example, you have 2 kids, right? And when they were younger, they would say certain things that if you was to put them in front of a crowd, nobody would understand them.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, what are they saying? He was like, oh, he's saying he wants some chips. They was like, how did you get that? You know your son, right? So the scripture says, make a joyful noise. People take it as like, oh, I can't sing, but no, I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
No. Make a joyful noise means this may be the beginning stages of something new in your life, but you're going to make some noise, but the Father understands what you're trying to do. Yeah. So, like, I went from being in music to getting into film. I was sloppy. We had a discussion on one of the sets. He was like, hey, you know what? You should have memorized this line a little bit better. I was like, yeah, you're right. And I took that, and I was like, I'm sorry about that. I'll assure you I'll do better. And I did better on the other 2. See, it wasn't like, but I'm supposed to be perfect every single time. No. I took the noise. I made a noise in the beginning. We were still able to use it. But then I was humble enough to learn from my mistake. I made some noise, and then I perfected it on each one.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So making a joyful noise is making that super cheesy film in the beginning. And then somebody through God goes like, hey, I see your potential. I'm going to produce the next one for you.
Yeah.
And like, you get another one. Oh my gosh. I got a bigger budget. We can actually do what we're actually closer to what we're thinking about. Oh my gosh. I did another film and more people didn't like it. So making a joyful noise is saying, you know what? In every new arena, you got to take baby steps.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to truly understand you but the Father.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to truly understand you but your parents. So that talk of, are we a good fit for you through the church is actually really helping people establish themselves with the church that's going to walk with them. And that's why you see more churches harmonized lately.
Yeah.
Because they're going like, you have something that I don't have, and I have something you don't have. Because even though we're pastoring, we're approaching it different. So, hey, why don't you take this sheep over here? It's a better fit for you.
Yeah. Let me wrap up this portion of the show. I'm going to come back and we'll talk some more things. Couple things. Number one, check out our Patreon. You'll be able to see podcasts like this one a week early. You'll be able to see some other great things. We're going to get into the topic we always say for the Patreon viewers is, what do you think happens after you die? That's coming up next. Check us out on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Funny&Amen, FUNNYANDAMEN, patreon.com/Funny&Amen. Go over there, give $1 or $2, and you'll get access to the podcast. $3, you'll get access to our stand-up comedy that we have up there, and then $4 and more, you'll get access to all of the comedy shorts, swag, and also we're launching a new store on our website, funny&amen.com. Check out our new store there, and you can get Christians Who Drink Whiskey swag as well as Funny&Amen swag and other stuff there. Philip, it was so great to have you on our show.
Enjoyed it.
Wanted to give a big shout out to Dad's Hat Whiskey for sponsoring, as well as Guy and Lady Barrel Cigars. and our other sponsors that are coming up. Thank you so much, and check it out. It's out on YouTube and wherever podcasts are found. Thanks very much. I'm Kevin Hagenberg. This is Christians Who Drink Whiskey and Their Open-Minded Friends. So the question is, what drew or draws you to church every Sunday? And do you go to church every Sunday, or do you skip? You haven't been going lately because it's been quarantine. But that's coming to an end. So let's talk about going to church, what draws you, and then where do you go after you die? What happens if you die? Those exclusively on patreon.com/Funny&Amen.